They might have seen Google ads here and there, but they don't understand how they get there. They also then confuse what search and display is and how you can advertise on them. So make sure that the division there is clear for them when you start, so they know that search gives them more relevance, display gives them more reach, and together they actually form one communication channel to their clients. That brings us on to the relevance of things. So with search, you've obviously chosen keywords that are targeted to the products that are being sold or the services that are being marketed. Along with those keywords, we then of course have a lot of other targeting options as well. So we're going by countries, we're going by languages. In the display network, we're going by interests, we're going by topics, and then of course contextual targeting. That again is a conversation which needs to be gone through quite clearly with new advertisers, so they understand what all of these things mean and how they work. And then, of course, the last thing that they most likely will understand from the get-go and will ask and demand from you is the return on their investment. And that's why AdWords is so cool, because it's completely transparent all the way from the top. So just looking at your account will actually tell you how much you've spent, what kind of traffic you've received, how many impressions you've got, how has that traffic that came through converted, what have you paid to get a new client or a new lead, and so on and so forth. When they actually start understanding all those metrics in there, they'll put more pressure on you to deliver better numbers. But in the beginning, it's up to you to educate them on what those numbers mean and what they actually then deliver. For example, an impression doesn't necessarily just have to be an impression that's been there and disappeared. It's going to be spoken about later on today, but an impression is considered an assistance to a conversion. So the whole thing comes together quite nicely, and we'll now go through then how we actually set it up so that you can get there in the end and deliver good results. So the full picture of performance marketing goes all the way from thinking about setting up an account to someone being in store and actually buying something from in person. So the science of performance is looking at these tactical things like your account structure, the keywords you choose, the CPCs or CPM bids you put in place, and the budget for the campaign. After that, that's actually the area right here that we're going to focus on now. When this is put in place, then it's good for you to know in the back of your head that where you're going to take your clients from here is to look at things like attribution, like I just mentioned, to look at what an impression actually delivers for them, even when they don't get traffic and they don't pay for it. The second part of it is then looking at what kind of conversions are you delivering and what the value of those are. And then going even further is the last and really cool part, which actually takes a lot of research on their part as well, but to see how are we or you, in this case, driving that traffic from laptops, from mobiles, from tablets into their stores and putting consumers' money in your clients' tills. But since we actually need to get to a place where we build an account, we're actually going to look at that area right there. So the very first step of starting with AdWords is, of course, opening an account. So it's adwords@google.com, and when you go in there, log in, it'll take you through the process of creating an account. One important thing to remember here is that the settings you choose here can't be reversed. So if you choose the wrong time zone, then that's the time zone your account is going to have. That's the time zone all your campaigns are going to report with. So if your client wants to advertise in a different time zone, then perhaps it could be beneficial for them to actually have their daily budget work according to the time of that time zone. So if the time difference is 2 hours, then their daily budget is going to go from 2 a.m. in the morning here to the following day, while it's 12 to 12 in that time zone. Also, language will be set there, so that's an option for you to make it just a bit more customized. Now, the second way you might come across working on a new account is then that someone has already set it up for you, and you just need to link it into your MCC. Do many of you already have MCCs in place, or are they familiar to everyone? Okay, so MCC stands for My Client Center, and what it does is basically it allows you to have an overview of all your clients' accounts, because all of them need separate accounts, and that way you only need to log into your own MCC in order to then go from one account to the other without having to enter and remember all these passwords and usernames for individual accounts. As you get more and more clients, I strongly advise that you open up an MCC account for yourself, which is done in the same way as a normal account, and start putting your clients in there. Eventually, it'll also then help you with things like billing, because once you fill the criteria for invoicing, we'll be able to put you on monthly invoices, and that way you don't have to deal with credit cards or things like that specifically for each account, unless, of course, you want your clients to pay for the advertising that happens, and then you have your own fees on top of that. Is everyone more or less clear on this process here? All right. Cool. Because with the MCC, when you come in, you'll see that blue box in the corner, which says Link Existing Account. You just click on that, you put in the account's customer ID, click OK, and it's done. Then you're linked. So, moving on to creating your first campaign. Now, this image I actually took from another deck, which I did at an Engage event in Finland, where we were going through objection handling, and this related to the budgets that are put in place. The absolutely phenomenal thing about AdWords is that even the smallest advertiser can compete against the biggest one, because they control the budget and the actual cost by choosing the keywords so that they're relevant, and you guys really need to work closely with them to make sure that it's all the way they want to. Because when they do that, you'll see the relationship that was mentioned earlier here. You'll become that Google guy for them, and you'll deliver great results, and the budget will increase and they'll grow, and you'll change people's businesses. You'll change their lives, basically. So, when you create a new campaign, this is half of the menu that pops up that you need to populate. Now, the first thing to do here is to enter a name for the campaign. And the campaign name should be as descriptive as possible. So, for example, if you choose to create a search campaign for cars, then the campaign could be called just like cars-search, or cars-display if it's display. Just make sure that it's easy for you to go back into the account and find what you're looking for when you need to optimize, especially when the account grows and they want to test new things. It becomes a bit of a jungle, and it's a great roadmap for you to have to just click through quickly and find the small details you want to tweak and get back out and let the campaign run. The next important thing is then to choose the network. Now, if there's one thing that I hope you guys take away from this session or the entire day, then please let it be the one that always separate search from display. The reason being is that user behavior on display is completely different from search. As in, we're online, we're reading news, and we see ads. Yes, the ads are informative, they're relevant to the article, but they might not be interesting for us at that time, so we won't click them. This leads, of course, to the click-through rate coming down, And the click-through rate is a very important part of the quality score. Now, in the meantime, in search, people are actually looking for you specifically. So the CTR there should be very high, because your ads will be timely and relevant. So the CTR is going to pull your quality score up, and in the end, that'll bring your cost for traffic down. Now, is everyone familiar with the concept of quality score? Okay, so it's based on a number of things, but three key issues, or three key segments there are CTR, most of all, because, well, it makes sense. That actually shows that your ads have been delivered to a relevant audience. The second thing is then, of course, the relevance between the keyword and the ad, to make sure that we're actually delivering right info. And then the third part is the landing page quality. That's one that's going to be difficult to control, of course, but anyway, your clients should know, and if they don't know, please inform them that a website is never done. It always has to be worked on. There's always some little thing that has to be tweaked. That's because user behavior is changing all the time. I mean, we're looking for different things on a site in different ways, and when we find something we like, we'll look for that again, and then that'll change, and we'll find something new. So they always have to keep an eye on what's happening with their website. That also goes then further along in the discussion to if they say that it's not delivering results, then you'll be able to show in your AdWords account that they're getting a lot of traffic and it's really cheap, but then it's not converting. So the issue is most likely something on the site, or maybe then tweaking where we lead the traffic. But that's going a bit further into optimization. Now, devices, as mentioned, we don't need to worry about anymore, because we do have our hands full with worrying about context of ads. So at the moment, there's still the option of going back to creating a legacy campaign. As you can see, it's the blue text there. But I would recommend against doing that, because the migration is going to happen anyway. So if you do put down a lot of time in creating campaigns for different devices now, that's all going to be for nothing come June, because the campaigns are going to be merged anyway. That's the biggest TV I've ever seen. All right. Well, moving on. There's with those mobile options, then we're going to come to creating an ad text. And as Brett already showed, we just need to create a mobile preferred ad, and it can be in the same campaign, and it'll always be delivered to a mobile device. If you get pushback on this, that people say that our customers aren't on mobile, they don't convert on mobile, then you can always tell them that, thank you, that it's a brilliant chance to actually test that, see what happens. And since tracking between devices is still in early days, we can get to the point where mobile is most likely an assistance to a conversion. So I recommend against setting the bid adjustment to -100 for mobile at any time. Just do lower it a little bit to make sure the traffic is cheaper, and see what happens. Oh, we're already on there. So the bidding options, these are things that Jose is going to go through in detail. So please hold your questions about those for that. And then of course we come to setting your default bid and your budget. Now, there are tools you can use to find the default bid. My suggestion would be, what I found that worked well for my clients was to actually use our tools, see what the CPC recommendation was, and increase that a little bit. The reason for that being is that my advertisers, when they started their campaigns, they started from scratch, like most of your clients will as well. So if you have a high CPC, you're more likely to show in the top spots. And if you're showing in the top spots, my experience is that you're more likely to get the traffic. In the future, you'll also see what I realized yesterday, just looking at one of my clients' accounts and benchmarks, was that they were actually getting a lot cheaper conversions from the top spots where they bid more than from the lower spots where they bid less. In fact, the traffic itself turned out to be cheaper from top spots than from the lower ones, and that's where quality score comes in. So my suggestion with bidding is go high in the beginning, see what the actual cost is, see what your ad rank is, and optimize accordingly. As for budgets, it comes to the question of target setting. Now, I'd love to go back to the sales process, but that's not why we're here. So the only thing, I'll just summarize it as, during the sales process, always try to set targets with your advertisers. It's not only for budgeting, but it's also for you then to actually demonstrate that you've achieved that target and you've exceeded it. But when you have a target, for example, a certain amount of clicks, and you know roughly what it's going to cost, then you'll be able to tell them that if you want X clicks and it's about Y price, then the budget we need is X times Y. And then the actual cost is going to be revealed once the campaigns are up and running. The last point there are the ad extensions. Now, this again depends a lot on what your advertisers want to do. There's the location extension, which will actually show physical locations. There's site links, which I do recommend to have in place, just basically for two reasons. First reason is that it's going to give users a shortcut to find the exact thing they're looking from your client's site. So obviously that's going to bring in more traffic, and hopefully that traffic is going to convert better and quicker. The second thing is purely for real estate. As in, for example, I work mostly with the finance vertical, and I've been lucky enough to actually go to Germany. I was there for 3 months, and I was mentored by the sales director of finance. Sometimes it has its benefits to be Finnish, because he's Finnish as well. Furthermore, he's a Swedish-speaking Finn, just like me. So yeah, he told me that their clients are constantly looking for ways to take over the entire page. As in, he said that they run open budgets because it doesn't matter what it costs as long as they get that real estate. They have high bids because they want to show their site links, because those site links are then going to expand how much they're actually visible on the site. And if they could, they would do double serving. So they would actually take over all the places and drive down their quality score. But obviously we stopped that because it's not a good user experience. So site links, if there are more than one page or more than one product, use site links. It's most likely going to have a good impact on the traffic and conversions. Then of course, going on to the next one is the call extension, which works with mobile. And as you saw this morning, we can actually have a call button in the ad itself. And that call button is going to report the same way as a click would. So if someone calls you through an ad, then the AdWords account is going to update that there's been a click, and that actual call then is what the advertiser pays for. And then the last one is social. Now, with social, it requires a G+ page, and what it enables you to do is just to attach a +1 annotation or basically the +1 icon to your ads. And what we see happening there is that people who actually like the company or like the product, they will +1 the ad itself. And if they have friends in their circles who perform the same search and see the same ad, they'll see who has liked it. Other users who don't have them in their circles will see that people have liked it. So that's, in a sense, I would say, it's word of mouth online. So it's just another thing we can do to show relevance, so show that this advertiser is trustworthy and increase traffic. What we see is actually that there's on average a 6% increase in CTR for ads with the +1 icon versus ads without it. So it is very, very useful. But then again, it does require that whole social approach to their marketing. Any questions so far? Cool. So, summarizing it, what we're doing is we're looking at where to advertise. So search, display. Best practice there, separate the two. Even if you don't really want to create a proper display campaign as such, you just want to use contextual targeting, as in keywords, create a search campaign, copy that campaign, opt it out of search and into display. That way it takes no time at all with editor, and you'll have it separated, and you'll reap the benefits of it. Now, devices, all are included, and you can then adjust the bids for it. Now, desktop and tablet are grouped as one, because the user experience is quite similar on both devices. And then we have mobile, which is pretty much a treasure trove of opportunity. So do test mobile. And as said, the best practice there is to optimize them separately, as in interpret what numbers are coming through on mobile and what numbers are coming through on desktop and tablet, and make your adjustments then based on that info for those devices. The location targeting is of course then the physical aspect of it, as in looking at where we're going now. If you're going international, then remember to always use the same language keywords. For example, I mean, if you're advertising in Finland, use Finnish, Sweden, Swedish, and the States, English. Here, depends on who your advertiser is and who they want to reach. Then set the language for the keywords accordingly. And coming back to the bidding and budgets, then the question is, how much is a click worth to you? Now, your advertisers most likely won't know that, especially since they most likely haven't done this before. So you'll need to help them along the way. And this tip is what I've seen work for my clients. It is to go with a high CPC, because it will drop. Cool. So, account structure. This image here, I chose it because I think these two entrepreneurial girls have the right idea. As in, they've got one product which they're running one campaign for with a very relevant ad. If I was cold and heartless, I would criticize them and say that they haven't got a strong enough call to action, but I'm not that bad. So, the structure is, as mentioned, one product or product line for one campaign. Reason is that you want to make sure that the budget you get from your advertisers actually does cover everything they want to advertise. So if they have one product which is very popular, and you group that in the same campaign with something which is less popular, then the daily budget is most likely going to be spent by the popular one. The less popular one won't see any additional traffic, and the sales will stay the same. With that, thinking about what to pitch to your clients, my experience of it was usually to have them, if they want to try it and don't want to go all out straight away, then get one product on there which is selling well and increase the sales on that through a new AdWords campaign, and get one product in there that they want to push more and make sure that it gets its own budget and starts getting more traffic and conversions. So when you have the product or the product line in your campaign, you want to create ad groups. So the ad groups are then supposed to be one specific product in the product line, or if you have just one product, then even just one attribute of the product. As in, make sure it's as tightly knit as possible so that you can customize the ads to be very specific to those exact queries. That's because, I mean, Google search is there to solve a problem for users. It's there to provide them with the information they want. It's there to give them the product they want. So when they type in a query, the more exact you can be with your ads, the better. Ad groups, then, I mean, you can create as many as you like within the campaign. The limits there, I doubt that they'll ever be a problem. And once you have the ad groups in place, and with the keyword grouping is tight, then we start creating the ads. Now, ad texts, do you guys know the limits for them? How many symbols we can have in them? Yeah, so it's 25 in the headline and then 35 on the description lines. So exactly. So with that, use the headline to grab attention. Use the first description line to deliver a unique selling point, a value. And then the second one, I would recommend that you use it for delivering a very strong call to action. Here, when you create the ad texts, I would recommend that you create at least 3 ad texts and let them run constantly. That's because you'll actually see that one of them is most likely going to perform better than the others, and the system is then going to show that ad more and more and more and more. So it will get traffic that way. This, of course, doesn't mean that you're set. It means that you have some element in there that works better than the 2 others, so it's time to test new ad texts. Create new ones, pause the old ones, and see what happens with that comparison. It's constant work. So try different calls to action, as in if it's a question of reading more, then state it clearly in the ad text. Set expectations for the users that they are going to read more about the product here or the service. If it's a question of for example, booking a test drive, then make the statement that you will make book a test drive through here. So the ad text would look something like this. This is probably something new for most, I think, keyword insertion. What it does is it takes the search query, if it's exactly the one that you have in your keywords, and it's going to use that as the headline instead of the default text that's been entered here. So it makes it very relevant. Now, it might not be the best ad, but it'll be relevant to the query. After that, then, as said, unique selling point, set expectations, and have a call to action. And when you get top spots, you'll see the ad will look like that. What happens is basically the first description line is moved next to the headline, and this can happen when you just put a full stop at the end of the first description line. So then when you get the top spot, then your ad might look like this. Cool. Any questions? No? Oh, yeah. There's a tool that you can use within AdWords. It's the keyword tool, and Jose is going to cover it more. But it's there. It's a good question, and let's make sure he tells us where to access it. All right. So moving on, account structure to the display network. The setup is more or less the same. The difference here is the targeting options that we have. Now, what I recommend is to try different targeting options for all your campaigns and separate those in the ad groups. So here we come back to the naming conventions again. Just make sure that the ad groups are titled descriptively, so you know, for example, if you're going for interests, like say insurance interests or insurance topics, because that'll most likely deliver different sites that you appear on and different kind of results. So make sure you know which one is which. And then, of course, you should enter as well insurance contextual, so you have your keywords in there. You can combine them in any way you like, but I would say that from the beginning, when we don't know what works, just test the targeting options as they are. When you see results, then you can start mixing them. For example, looking at topics, so sites that are relevant to insurance, and within those sites targeting any site that mentions car insurance. And then you just enter the topic and you enter a keyword, and those two targeting options will be in place. But that's optimizing your accounts. The main difference then after the targeting is, of course, everything we can do with the ads. Text ads are, of course, there. They perform very well. And the other options are then to use image ads. You can use rich media ads, and you can use video ads. So increasingly, I mean, YouTube is coming. It's very big, and well, there's a separate event for it, so that says something. Rich media requires a bit of technical know-how. It's very cool things that you can do there. It's absolutely amazing. But it might not be the best choice from the beginning. Then we get to image ads. Now this is where we actually help you a lot on the way and cut down your time requirement to create the ads. The Display Ad Builder is a tool within AdWords where you can create all available sizes using the images your clients give you. So it literally takes half an hour to set up, to customize, make sure it's nice and looks good, and then you can show them to your clients and so that this is what we're going to run and have them approve it. So it's very easy, and it's important as well, because if you don't have all available ad formats in the campaign, then you're basically chopping off one of your legs, because you're taking away a lot of impressions that you could have if you had those ad formats in place, and it would give you then most likely more traffic. At least it'll give you more brand engagement when users see those ads. Any questions here? All right, so the boring part of it, invoicing or billing. Now there are billing options which are prepay and postpay. So with prepay, you can use bank transfers if you like. The key thing to remember there is that if your client is in a rush to get their campaigns running, it might take up to 10 business days for the bank transfer to actually go through and the budget be there so your campaigns can run. You can, however, also use your credit card, which is almost instant. The easier option, I would say, is to go with postpay or the automatic payments, where you just set up a credit card, and that credit card is then going to be charged every time it hits a billing threshold or every 30 days, whichever comes first. Well, as far as I remember, the first threshold is $250. And when that's hit, it's going to be charged from the credit card, and things will go on. So just make sure that if there is a credit card in there, it actually does have credit on it. So that's an unnecessary reason to have a campaign stop, and it's easily avoided. All right then. The vouchers that were mentioned earlier today can be entered in from here. So it's basically just entering the code that you get in the voucher, and it's done. Oh, yeah. So the vouchers, they're sent out as a direct marketing. The current format of them is when you enter the voucher into the account and you spend a certain limit, you will get more credit to your account.